Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I'm Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing Ryan's second to last mock draft before our final mock draft. You're seeing this now, and the next Monday, both Ryan and I will release our final mock draft. That is the one, that is our lottery ticket. That is the one that we think the order is going to be happening this way. So this one will be the penultimate one for Ryan here. We've been doing these essentially every single Monday, starting off going even all the way back to January. It's been a lot of fun. It's been crazy seeing how different our mocks have changed. Love seeing the fact that Braylon Trice used to be a top 15 pick for me, and now I don't think he's going to make it in the second round. And so I think he's a good player. I think it's just, it's been fun seeing the changes overall of people rising and falling and everything. So this will be a lot of fun. It'll be fun to go back and look, especially the two on draft night when we go live on Thursday, April 25th, for the first round. So to get notified when that happens, be sure to subscribe to the channel, to the Tracy Take, and help us reach 3,000 subscribers by NFL draft night. That'd be greatly appreciated. And so, Ryan, that being said, I want to hand it over to you. You're the main man right now for this video. So take it away.
All right. So last time Tyler did some funky stuff where he only did he only picked players that he had not picked in any of the 6 previous mock drafts. I'm not doing that. I'm going to do the mock draft that I think is most likely going to happen, especially based off of some of the draft rumors that we've heard so far. And obviously Caleb Williams going first overall. So there's not much really to it. Like, he's just the best prospect in this class, if not like the second best, behind like Marvin Harrison Jr. And this is where, so I know what I just said. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit. I don't see how the Commanders don't take Drake May just because of his physical tools. Like, personally, on a evaluation plane, if you put Drake May and Jayden Daniels next to each other, like, who is the better quarterback right now? I'm taking Jayden Daniels. However, the tools, the age, the size, right, and like the arm, all of that is in favor of Drake May. And I think getting him in an offense with Cliff Kingsbury leading it, I do think that is a favorable situation for him and the Washington Commanders. Also, I personally have been a fan of the argument that Jayden Daniels is a better fit for the offense just because of how athletic he is. Well, Drake May led North Carolina in rushing 2 years ago. He is a really, really solid athlete as well. He's just not like Jayden Daniels is a generational athlete at the quarterback position. Like, we've really only ever seen Lamar, Michael Vick, like Warren Moon, right? Like, those guys are the athletes that come to my mind, where I can think of 3 guys in the NFL right now that have comparable athleticism to Drake May. So Drake May here, and then New England on the clock. Jayden Daniels does come off the board here. I do think that the Patriots would be a big fan of him falling down here. He does have some flaws on tape, like reading over the middle of the field can be, I don't want to say sketchy, but sometimes he like passes up on big plays to run, which is fine when he's running for 50-yard touchdowns. It's just when you're in the NFL, those are going to be fewer and far between. And so just the development there, I think, is going to be essential for him to succeed. Also, they're going to need to put weapons around him. So next up, the Minnesota Vikings. I've had them trade up in, I think, my last like 3 or 4 mock drafts. They're going to trade up here with the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to offer 3 firsts to get up there. And then Arizona is going to send a 4th and then next year's 2nd just to kind of make it work on points. So we will force that. And then they are going to take JJ McCarthy. I personally don't know how I feel about JJ McCarthy going this high, but he has some good tools to work with. He ran a pro style system at Michigan. And when you look at what he has done, it's been very impressive. He's only lost 2 games in high school and college combined, and so as a starting quarterback. And so that is a good track record that speaks for itself. He definitely needs some work, especially when throwing outside the numbers. But for Minnesota to go and get him in that system where they have the left tackle, they have 2 top wide receivers right now that he can throw to, I think that's a very favorable system for him to go to. Not to mention Kevin O'Connell is the one calling the plays. So here, with the 4 quarterbacks going in the first 4 picks, Marvin Harrison Jr. is hand delivered to the Minnesota Vikings. He's one of the most sure prospects that we've ever seen. He is an all-star, like Pro Bowler right away. And like, there's just not much to really be said about it. Like, he had one bad game, I think, his entire college career, and it was his final game against Michigan. And there was horrible quarterback play. I thought Ohio State got way too conservative. And like, yeah, I really don't think he makes it out of the top 5. Like, he's one of the best prospects we've ever seen, let alone at the wide receiver spot. So here with the Giants, I am going to go a little bit of a different route. I'm going to go Rome Odunze over Malik Neighbors, simply because I feel like they got Jalen Hyatt last year. That's their deep speed threat. And I know Neighbors is more than that, but I think Rome Odunze is more of the all-around, like, number one wide receiver that you have compliments to. Whereas I feel like there would be just a little bit of redundancy to Malik Neighbors being in New York with Jalen Hyatt and some of the guys that they have there already. And so here, nothing's going to change here. Joe Alt to the Tennessee Titans just makes too much sense. Him, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry solidify the left side of that offensive line for the next 5 to 10 years. And then we'll hopefully they can keep Will Levis upright. And then this is another trade I have, and I'm not sure how true this one could be, but I'm going to have the Indianapolis Colts trade up here with your Atlanta Falcons. They give up 15 and 46 for 8 and 79. And this is where I'm going to have Malik Neighbors come off the board. I think they have Michael Pittman Jr. and they got Josh Downs last year. And they actually have invested into tight ends a little bit in previous drafts. I think Jelani Woods was the guy from a year or two ago. And then they still have Mo Alley Cox on the roster. So getting Malik Neighbors here, I think, just adds another elite athlete to that offense, right? You have Jonathan Taylor, you have Anthony Richardson. Michael Pittman Jr. is a very nuanced and savvy route runner. And I really like him on that roster. And I know what you're thinking. You would want the Falcons to probably take Malik Neighbors there. I just think with the moves that they've made this offseason that there would be some redundancy between Darnell Mooney, Rondale Moore, and then you throw Malik Neighbors into that mix. And they did pay both of those guys enough money to where I think that they would think twice about drafting a third guy with a similar skill set. So I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors here. And then again, nothing really changes here for the Chicago Bears. Taking Dallas Turner here, I just think he's the most ready edge rusher in this class, I think, to come in and play, especially be a stand-up outside linebacker, like I think Chicago would want him to do. I think would be just a phenomenal fit. And then the New York Jets, the more and more I think about it, the more and more Brock Bowers makes sense. They want to add a pass catcher, but they miss out on the top 3 receivers. They don't have a ton of draft capital to really move up and go get one of those guys. And I think he comes in, he makes that offense tremendously better right away, and they go snag him. I know he's not an immediate need or an extremely desirable position at the moment, but again, he makes that offense better right now, and I think that's what they're looking for. So here, the Arizona Cardinals are going to make their first pick. I'm actually going to go with Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle from Texas. Just they need pass rushers, and he is the most complete defensive tackle in this class. And they trade down, get more picks, and then and they're still able to get them. So here, I'm going to pass on Bo Nix right now for the Broncos, and I'm going to go with Jared Verse. They haven't had a solid edge rusher since they got rid of Bradley Chubb. And Jared Verse, I think, comes in day one, top-tier edge rusher for them right away. I don't have any other quarterbacks going in the first round, spoiler, but I do think at the top of the second, we're going to have 2 Will Levis situations with Bo Nix and Michael Penix, because I think teams are going to be wanting to go after and get those guys very early on day 2, like the Raiders, like the Broncos. Even I think the Saints could be in that.
The Broncos don't have a second round pick.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But again, Raiders and Saints, they could potentially be in that. Speaking of the Raiders here, I'm going to go with JC Latham. If you followed this channel, I'm a very big fan of Police Fuaga. However, JC Latham just has physical traits that I don't think you can't really replicate those. And to me, his biggest lapses on play were just mental lapses. So if you can go coach him up, I think Antonio Pierce would do a great job of getting his head right in the games. And I think that would solve 90% of his problems right there. And then they also need a right tackle really bad. And also, I think you look to Tulise Fuaga, he has the size you want to be a tackle, but there is some speculation that he may kick into guard. And there's no speculation that JC Latham is kicking into guard. He is a tackle through and through. And I think he would be a really good fit for that team. Here with the Saints, I'm also going to go with an offensive lineman here in Troy Fatanu. They need offensive lineman just kind of across the board. And that's, I think, what Troy Fatanu brings is he can play all 5 positions, be very versatile. And I really like that fit. Here, your Atlanta Falcons. This is a guy I've kind of gotten higher on as the process has gone on. And that's Laiatu Latu. Just doesn't have one single standout trait. He just does everything super, super well. And like he's a really good athlete. He has really good pass rush moves. He hand fights with offensive linemen really well. He does really well against the run. And it's just kind of hard to poke a weakness in his game. And I do think that he would be a guy that Raheem Morris would really like to target. So here, Laiatu Latu coming off the board. And then the last pick before I take a break and drink some water here, I actually have the Cardinals trading up. So they got pick 23 in the trade back. They can give up pick 23 and 66 for pick 16, and it is the exact same point value on the trade chart here. So we will force that trade. And this is where I have Brian Thomas Jr. coming off the board. A wide receiver I really like. He's going to be that outside deep threat that teams want. But I think just adding that elite speed with Kyler Murray in that offense, I think is going to be crucial here. And he can win down the field. Kyler Murray can hit him deep for sure. You can move him around the formation as well. Just a really well-rounded wide receiver. So, Tyler, I'm going to throw it over to you. What do you think of the first 16 picks?
Scroll up a little bit. Let's start with the quarterbacks. And so I think that is extremely possible. I think Washington's the unique one because Chicago is going to go Caleb Williams, and then Washington's going to go with whoever they feel is best, and then New England's going to get the next one. I think the Minnesota trade is extremely unique, and I just dawned on me now that if Arizona made that trade, that they would then have 3 first-round picks, and they got the Byron Murphy, which I mean maybe he's not the 11th best prospect, but I'm of the belief like if you feel like this player's not going to be there at your next pick, then it's not a reach. And so they go get the best defensive interior lineman in this class. And so they maybe could have gone an edge rusher, but I think getting him better now that they have 3 first-round picks. Let's see who they now get with the 27th pick. Then you go get Brian Thomas Jr., which I think is the fair spot for him to go and get to. They have all these extra picks now. And then they still have 1 more pick. So, yes, they could have got Marvin Harrison Jr., but if they trade back a little bit, they get still one of the top receivers in this class with a lot of upside, and then can even get another top prospect for a totally different position. So I think that's actually a very unique trade as well. Rome Odunze makes sense. Joe Alt is obvious. Falcons trade. Not only do I want them to take Malik Neighbors there, I feel like they would take Malik Neighbors there. They have demonstrated that they are a best player available mentality. And just because they got Darnell Mooney, just because they got Rondell Moore, I feel like a guy like Malik Neighbors would go up with his upside. I think they would take him there. That being said, I also love the trade back, and I love us getting Laiatu Latu. I also thought as well, it's like we get Laiatu Latu, we get any of the top corners to go alongside AJ Terrell. So it's and then we even get that second rounder as well. Move that second, third we got to now a second round, where there's also going to be a lot of other receivers and also a lot of other good interior offensive linemen or other good secondary guys as well. And so so far I think the draft's been going well. And they all kind of make sense to me. I think Denver not going quarterback also makes sense. It makes sense to an extent because if they don't have a second round pick, then are they going to try and be aggressive to your point and go up and go get a guy, maybe give up a future pick to go into the second round? I'd be curious on that. So we'll have to kind of go and see. It almost feels like the Broncos are pigeonholed themselves into getting a quarterback, but I could also see them going a different direction. They potentially could be a trade back spot, but it just had to be for who. So
that's my biggest problem with trying to trade back with Denver. I was like, who wants to trade up there? Because you're kind of at the end of the blue chip guys, and you're at the very beginning of the, like, I say regular first round picks, but like the actual guys rated as like, all right, this is just a first round pick, not a blue chip talent.
Yeah, like you go look at those top 7, and I just have blue chip, like godly like prospects, and then the rest of these guys I would love to have these guys on my team. Doesn't matter the position. That's how good all these prospects are. So it's not like the past couple years where there is a clear gap in certain positions. Like all these guys, I mean, go look at how many offensive linemen on offensive tackles here. Like all these guys are extremely good, with high ceilings as well. And these are just the first 16 picks. And we still haven't gotten into the corners. There's still Jayden Newton that's there. There's a lot of other offensive linemen and even some receivers as well that have a lot of upside. So it's just there will be guys, and that's where it's so hard to protect, because for people like Jacksonville or Cincinnati or these teams that haven't picked yet, if they would want to trade up, they would have to value a guy in ways that we obviously don't know about. We don't know the conversations that are going on. They would have to value this guy as like, we must have this guy on our team. I just love this player, and so that's what will entice them to trade up. And so that's what's going to make draft night extremely fun. So tune in while we're live.
For sure. So let's get back into it here, though, with Jacksonville at 17. You mentioned getting into the cornerbacks. Quinyon Mitchell coming off the board. He is the top cornerback for me in this class. I just think he brings the physicality, the technique, the size, speed, athleticism, like all that you want in a top tier corner. And he is that good. He did very well at the Senior Bowl, tested out very well at the Combine. So I think he's the top corner off the board here. Then the Bengals, they did lose DJ Reader. I think they're going to address the defensive interior here with Jayden Newton. And again, I think he was probably used a little bit out of formation at Illinois last year. Also, too, I think that defense was so good in 2022. They lost so many players, and then he was like kind of the only guy left in 2023 that was really one of those top tier talents. So moving on to pick 19 here with the Los Angeles Rams. This is where I have Tracy Take coming off the board. Right now at right tackle, I believe, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's 31, and he was like a 5th round pick from 2015. Rob Havenstein, I believe. And so he can come in and play right guard or right tackle right away for that organization, continue to protect Matt Stafford, be an absolute force in the running game for Kyren Williams. And I really like that fit there. Of all these picks so far, like excluding like probably the top 10, like this is one of my favorite fits in the draft is Tracy Take to the Los Angeles Rams. Here, I'm going to have another trade. So I'm going to go, actually, there it is. Dallas Cowboys pick 24 and 87 for pick 20, just to move up a few spots. They really need a left tackle. Olu Fashanu is still on the board. I have a few issues with him being able to handle power at the next level, but he's only going to be 21. He's going to have time to develop and get stronger, and he can come in, he can start right away, he can protect Dak, and I just think that is a really good fit. I think that the Cowboys would be more than happy to move up a few spots to snag him before some of the other tackle-needy teams can either draft him or trade up for him. So here at 21, this is also a pick I've mocked a lot, but I just also really like this fit. Graham Barton to the Dolphins. He's one of the most athletic offensive linemen in this class, and he can really play anywhere. He was most likely going to kick into the interior, and potentially his best position could be center. But I really like what he brings to the table, and I think with his athleticism, couple that with Devon Achane, not Raheem Mostert as well down there. And then, I mean, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, getting another athletic offensive lineman in that rotation, I think would benefit that team greatly. And then next up, Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going with Terrion Arnold here. He's just, to me, the top corner on the board. I like him a little bit more than Nate Wiggins because I think he plays with a little bit more like aggressiveness and feistiness. He's also more active in the running game than Nate Wiggins is. Nate Wiggins, I think, only came in at like 178 pounds or 180 pounds at the combine. He ran a 4.29, which is great, but then he also pulled his groin while doing it. And so I don't know. I just like Terrion Arnold a little bit better for that scenario. Here, the Seattle Seahawks. Do I have that right on my board? Yes. Okay. Sorry. I have all my picks laid out on the spreadsheet for those watching. So the Seattle Seahawks, they trade back. They still get Jackson Powers Johnson here at 23. That's a pick we've done, I feel like, a ton now, but they need the interior offensive lineman, and he's the best one in this class. They are able to trade back and still snag him. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers, they go with Tyler Guyton, the right tackle from Oklahoma. They got Broderick Jones last year. I expect him to maybe kick over to left tackle this season, and Tyler Guyton can fill in at that right tackle spot. But just a super athletic offensive lineman, former tight end that packed on like 60 pounds and now is a tackle. And he has some really solid traits about him. You need to work on his hands and his foot placement and like some of the actual ins and outs of playing tackle. But in terms of ceiling, he might have the highest ceiling of all the tackles not named Joe Alt, in my opinion. So here, Green Bay Packers. I'm going to go with Nate Wiggins. I know I don't want to say I trashed him a little bit earlier, but plays man-to-man really well. I feel like he gets lost in zone sometimes, but in terms of an athlete, he's a great athlete, super explosive. He did have that injury at the combine. Hopefully it's not something that turns into like a nagging groin injury or anything, but just something to kind of keep your eye on. For him, tall, outside, like, again, can play man really well. And I think his athleticism will kind of help him stand out above the rest out there in Green Bay. Here, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they missed out on JPJ, but I'm still going to have them go Zach Frazier just because I think the interior of that offensive line is going to be the biggest need that they need to fill, in my eyes anyway, because they need to be able to run the ball with Rachaad White to keep that offense balanced. They need to be able to protect Baker Mayfield, who they just paid a bunch of money. And I think going and getting Zach Frazier is the best option there. They have Tristan Wirfs, and then I forget the right tackle's name. Do you remember? No. Oh, did you mute yourself?
Yes, I did. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. We're talking about the Cardinals?
No, the Bucs right tackle.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, because they got the. Let me look it up.
It's a kid from last year's draft. It's not Bernard Raymond. Anyways, here at 27 with the Arizona Cardinals, I'm going to go with Kool-Aid. They've addressed the defensive front seven. They addressed the wide receiver position. Now I think they go outside on the cornerback spot. Super versatile guy. I think he could potentially play safety just because of his prowess in zone coverage. But I really like the pick there. I think that's good value. Did you get the Bucs left tackle or right tackle's name?
Luke Gedeke.
Luke Gedeke. Yeah.
Yeah, from 2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I remember that now. Here, this one was pretty easy. I'm going to go with A.D. Mitchell from Texas. The Bills, they lost Gabe Davis in free agency. They just traded Stephon Diggs. I think A.D. Mitchell could come in and be a force for them right away. He's one of those guys. He's 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds, but he plays smaller than he is. And then he does a really good job of using his size at certain points. A good example is in the national championship semifinal or college football semifinal. When Texas was driving down late, they threw that jump ball to him in the corner of the end zone, and we just saw how high up he got and how stretched out he got to go up and get that football. And like just really impressive. But then he also is quick in and out of his routes. He drops his hips really, really well. And so for me, the biggest thing is going to be just getting him to give 100% effort all the time, because that was kind of his issue down at college. Here with the Lions, I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean, the cornerback out of Iowa. Very versatile guy. I like what he brings to the table. And for a team, they have some safeties, they have some corners on the roster. For a team that just kind of needs secondary help, getting a guy with his versatility, I think is going to be very, very crucial for them. He can play a lot of different spots. And then wrapping up here, a little bit of a different one, but I'm curious to hear everybody's thoughts on this. I'm going with Ricky Pearsall, the wide receiver from Florida. The more and more I watch Ricky Pearsall, the more and more I like Ricky Pearsall. He's 6'1", 190 pounds. He has fantastic hands. He runs fantastic routes. Not the most explosive athlete of anyone or of any of these guys, but again, I just really like what he brings to the table. And yeah, just a fantastic wide receiver there. Here with San Francisco, going to jump on Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona. It says tackle. He's probably going to kick into the interior there, where I think they need a lot of help in San Francisco. He's very athletic offensive lineman, and he has the play strength that you want. He just has shorter arms. And so going and getting Jordan Morgan there, I think is good value. And then I'm curious with everyone's thoughts on this one, because I'm also going to go the wide receiver out here, go with Roman Wilson. Traditionally, I feel like everyone mocks Ladd McConkey there because he is that a little bit more of a possession receiver. But I think, obviously, barring Rashee Rice's criminal allegations now that are out, because an arrest warrant was issued for him, I believe today, actually, the day we're recording this. They need a guy that can win more down the field and really spread out defenses. And they didn't really have that. He has super consistent hands. Chiefs fans will be happy to hear. And I just think he would be a really good fit in a Patrick Mahomes offense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, and I think once again, it's just another time. I mean, you go look at all these guys and like maybe Ricky Pearsall. I think this is actually his first round debut to the Tracy Take mock draft. So congratulations. But that being said, though, I can absolutely see it. Like he's maybe a fringe first rounder, but I can see where arguments would be like, no, we want to get this player in. If it's not Roman Wilson at Kansas City, maybe they want to go with Ricky Pearsall there as well. And so just in general, I think it was a solid draft as well. I think like Seattle traded back and then still get JPJ addressing that center position as well. Pittsburgh might want to take them, but even then, too, Pittsburgh trades back and still get Tyler Guyton, a top tackle, to help out with that offensive line as well with their new quarterbacks that are in there. It's just a solid draft. It's solid. I think we're going to look back at this draft similar, I think, to 2021. I know 2021 is getting a lot of attention right now just because of how the quarterbacks are panning out. But you still go back and look at that draft. Outside of the couple of quarterbacks that were taken, that class was loaded just with great talent. And I feel like this class is going to be the same way. I mean, just going up and down this board, it's just you're just looking at all the talent that's on the field and how good all these teams are getting. Like, I don't remember a time in the NFL where there were this many like good to above average teams. It's the Chargers is the first one to come to my mind where like they're clearly going through a rebuild. I know Buffalo's moved off some pieces, but after last year, I still have confidence that they're going to figure out a way to win that division, make the playoffs, and still be one of the top teams in the AFC. So you combine all that then with this draft class and how many just great talents offensively and defensively there are on in this first round. It's amazing how these teams are going to just keep getting better and better.
Oh yeah, and that's like Arizona, I think is kind of in that rebuilding stage, but they're like on the come up of the rebuild. And like I think the Patriots, the Commanders, the Chargers. I don't know how good the Giants will be, but again, I just look at all these teams and I really like what a lot of them have done, and there's so many good players. I was thinking about it the other day, and so I mentioned this around like pick 12. I think we were talking about the Broncos. There's really like 11 or 12 like blue chip guys in this class, right? You have 8 or 9 offensive guys, and I think you have the 2 edge rushers, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, are like blue chip edge rushers, and then like maybe from there, like Byron Murphy, maybe. And then like you can make some arguments for some other guys, but then you probably have another 30 or 40 guys in this class that like in a regular class would grade out and be drafted in the top 20. And I like this class specifically, and maybe this is just the most in-depth I've gotten in a class like this talented. Because when we were doing it in 2021, that was our first draft. We were just kind of doing it.
We were learning.
Yeah, we were learning.
We were young and dumb.
Yeah,
well, we still are young and dumb. So
yeah, and so this draft specifically is just super impressive to see the amount of talent coming out of this in this class. So
yeah, but it's gonna be a lot of fun in 2 weeks' time.
Oh yeah, so make sure to tune in, follow along with us live. We will be doing all of the first 32 picks in the NFL draft. We will not be doing the second or third round or any of the day 3 stuff, but make sure to tune in for that. Let's go ahead and wrap up my mock draft here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of my first round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? None of that. We will see you guys next time.